Hey everyone, welcome to Someone You Need to Know. I'm your host, Rashanah Baldwin, award-winning journalist, powerful storyteller, and social architect. Each episode, we dive into the stories of trendsetters, change makers, and everyday heroes who are shaking things up and making a real difference. Get ready to hear the good news you won't find in the headlines, inspiring stories of people leaving the world better than they found it. Now, let's dive into someone you need to know. Bonita Harrison, welcome to my podcast. I'm so happy to have you.
I love it. Thank you so much, Rashanah. I'm so happy to be here.
You're amazing, and I follow your career for the last at least 5 years. I kept seeing you pop up in the media across my timeline. And I said, I got to meet her. I got to know who she is. I thought she was related to one of my friends, but she wasn't. But as I introduce you, you're the CEO and lead developer of Sunshine Management and managing broker and owner of KBM Realty. So you are a two-time business owner, right?
Yes.
And a
Yeah.
proud Chicagoan, raised on the south side of Chicago. And you got your bachelor's in science and mathematics from University of Illinois, my alma mater. So you're
Really?
doing some great work across the city of Chicago in development, real estate. You splashed across the scene. I hate to say the 15 minutes of fame because yours has been 5 years plus. And it's consistency, which I noticed because we've only known each other for 2 years. I was like, oh, she's really consistent.
Oh,
It's like, okay,
I
it's
try to
not
be.
an overnight success. So let's dive into how did you get started? How did you start? What inspired you to step into the world of real estate and community development, especially as a Black woman in a male dominated field?
Thank you so much for that question. I think I have to go back to my grandparents. Grandparents are from the South. They migrated here during the 50s, during the Great Black Migration. Bought a home on a land contract at 27% interest in the now known as North Kenwood community. Um, while I was growing up, it was a lot of disinvestment. Next door was a dilapidated house, which is still dilapidated to today. On the other side of me was a vacant lot where most people saw disinvestment. I saw a lot of opportunity. So for me, I was just like, and then also we had project building down the street from me, 4 blocks over. So I grew up in a community that was just a lot of vacant land and disinvested properties, but I saw a lot of potential. So that's really what drove me and brought me into it. Also, my grandparents, thankfully, we still have the home to today. Um, I remember my parents and I mean, my entire family were entrepreneurs. So growing up, they told me, do not become an entrepreneur. So they're like old school Black entrepreneurs. So they're cash and carry. They didn't believe in credit cards or leveraging finance, right? And so they told me to go to college and get a degree. So I'm the first college grad of my family. Went to school, got a degree in mathematics, graduated with my master's, went off and got my first gig at PepsiCo. Bought a home in the Greater Grand Crossing community. The home was highlighter pink and electric blue. I remember that. And gutted it
Wow.
out. Right. Repaired the house. And 6 months into my career, Pepsi said, hey, we don't think you're fit for this position.
6 months.
6 months. And so, but then within that time frame, I had renovated a home. I didn't know that was quick either, right? So I move into my home, not even a week later, I'm let go from my job. I'm like 25, 26 years old. So my entire life fell before my eyes. And I knew I was losing my home. I was going to lose my credit. So all I could do was sell. So this was in 2006 at the height of the market. And I sold and I made a profit. And I was like, okay, let me buy another house. And with that profit, I bought the home and I also paid for the labor. And I leveraged what my parents would not like for me to do. I leveraged my credit cards to purchase the material. And that one was also successful. So that's what kind of started my trajectory in real estate, real estate development.
How did you get your team. That at 25, you gloss right over at
Oh,
25,
oh,
26.
no, 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 no. So the first one, it was horrible. Like, and so I did everything you should not do.
Okay.
I hired my family, my daddy, right? So my daddy is a licensed electrician and he's amazing at what he does. However, family dynamics, when you're the baby, like I'm the baby of four. I hire my brother who's a painter. I hire my sister, like, so I had everyone around me and I'm the baby, but I am the boss, right? So no one listened to me. Everyone was telling me what to do. And like I had one outlet that's 6 inches off the floor, the other one 12 inches off the floor. It was horrible, right?
Okay.
I remember Jatan Priest. Jatan Priest came and she laid out the color for my house. So she actually did the interior decorating. And she's a really phenomenal artist right now. She's very popular in the community, but this is just how long ago when she was doing interior decorating that was way back in 2006. But no, I did everything wrong. Like literally everything you can think about, I did wrong. Um, and so that team, I remember I hired one carpenter though, and he was so upset at everybody. He just started pushing through and sending me bills. He's like, "No, this is the HVAC bill," and I thank him for that, right? Because on the opposite end, I'm arguing with my dad because he was mad that someone else was doing the work outside of him. But he was doing it when he felt like it because he's like, no, I'll do it for free. Don't take anything for free. Like I'd rather pay you. And so we actually, yeah, I did literally everything wrong. The second investment, I ended up finding another crew. And they were pretty good, but then it's still a lot of mistakes along the way. Um, some of those mistakes was just trusting that they would do what they were supposed to do versus me researching and understanding the process. I think I was lucky with those first couple of transactions that they were successful. Um, and I didn't get really hurt through the process. But knowing what I know now, um, making sure that you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed is so important. Making sure you have a great team. They're vetted, you research them, you go look at their work, making sure you're well capitalized, that you're watching your money because people will steal from you. They will buy twos and materials that's not for your job. I mean,
You
there's just,
had that happen.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I remember one contractor we had, he ordered, and I trusted him. I'm like, okay, go count the windows. This is an 8 unit that we had acquired and we were redeveloping. And I just wanted him to give me the count of the windows because he was installing them. He ordered like 15 windows more than what we needed because he was doing another job. And then I had another 22 unit we were redeveloping, and another contractor is just, they were stealing because we were, at that point, we would store a lot of the materials in the basement because the basement was like a block long. So all of our materials we would store. So now I don't store materials. There's no reason for me to have a warehouse. And, I talk to people now in the trades and they're like, well, the tariffs are coming. Don't you think we should buy? I'm like, because you have to, first of all, buy or rent out a facility. So that's overhead, that's cost. Who's going to manage it? You have to do inventory. You have to trust the people that's doing it. Then you have to secure it. So that's a lot of expenses. And on the face of it, you're looking at, well, it's going to rise 30%, but how much does those extra additional costs add to your budget, basically? So you have to really think about that. And for me, it's better to buy the product from the actual vendor, let it sit at their store, and then I'll have it shipped to the site once it's needed. So that's just an extra thing that I don't have to manage because you have to still pay someone to manage that. That's an expense.
So after you did one and did two, and you said you had some hiccups and challenges, what
Absolutely.
made you keep going? Like, what made you want to keep going and get to that 22 unit and that 8 unit and the 650 units?
Well, funny thing, I found out that I was not a great employee, right? So I probably didn't have another job. But I mean, honestly, it brought me fulfillment. Knowing that you're changing people's lives. I think I have a couple North Stars. So it's really like NARAB. Have you heard of NARAB? National
Yeah,
Association of
yeah.
Black Realtors. I went to the State of Black Housing, and In a 100% homogeneous Black community,
Mhm.
only 3 out of every 10 homes is owned by a Black person. And I was like, "What?" It's like my heart fell into my stomach. And then Chicago Community Trust released a report called The Color of Wealth. It was last year. And the net wealth of a Black family is $0. Our white counterparts are in the upper 200s. We're behind every other group, even first generation immigrants. And so when you understand where you are, then you can understand what path and where you're looking to go. And so our mission, our vision, our values is aligned with within the Black community. How do we create wealth for the Black community? And the quickest vehicle to wealth creation has been through home ownership. And so we don't we I mean, we will acquire some to hold, but we believe that in the one of four space, it should be someone that's vested in a homeowner inside of the community. And so our model is like an affordable model. We think it's the true form of affordable housing and it's natural. And so our model is a 3 unit. And so we look at that like you as an owner, the owner would come in and occupy the first unit. And then they'll use the other 2 units to cover their debt service or at minimum subsidize it. And so you have 3 units for every building that's being delivered to the market. So there's affordable housing in that community, typically South and West Side. So you have naturally occurring affordable housing that's traditionally less than what you would receive for a voucher.
Did you have or do you have mentors helping you along the way as you're navigating from one to two to then climbing to the 22 units? You did say you had the family money, y'all had the family property. As you're walking through properties, choosing properties, do you have someone holding your hand and guiding you? It's like, no, do the 4 unit, no, do the 8 unit, do this neighborhood as you're climbing, the different ladders to start doing the 22 units.
And I have to tell you, that's the one thing that I wish that I had was a great mentor. I think my trajectory could have been different. Um, I think what I've done was listen to people just sitting on the outside, but not having a direct mentor that I go to for advice. Studying, listening, reading has been very beneficial in my life, but I can tell you there was one person that stood out. And there's been a few people who stood out who just gave me a tidbit and it really helped. And so the first person that I would name would be Rob Rose, who was a past executive director for the Land Bank. And the
Second
reason,
time he was mentioned on this podcast, and two,
oh, really?
yes, the other previous guest, J.R. Fleming, anti-eviction campaign activist, good friends with Rob Rose. I took his class a few weeks ago or a
Oh,
month
great.
ago. Yeah,
Okay.
so he's definitely going to
Yeah.
come back on the podcast. He was one of the first persons I interviewed during
Oh, Rob,
COVID. So yeah, yes, he
I
told me
love
about it.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that.
Well, go ahead and yeah. So he gave you some advice.
He did, and I don't even know if he recognized I've told him, but I remember as I was acquiring properties from the land bank, and this is probably within the first or second year of our relationship with the land bank. And he's coming out, he's viewing properties, and of course, you have to sing all of your financials and your portfolio and everything of mine. It was just so confusing for them. They're like, "Wait a minute, how many LLCs and how is this buried in here and what's going on? You have trust, you have all kind of stuff set up. Who are you?" And so he came out and then I just kind of showed him our holdings. And he was like, and he looked at our friend, he was like, "You know what? Why you're doing all this great work? Why don't anyone know you?" And I believe in having a veil, right? Like staying behind the scenes. I never really wanted to be in the front. I just wanted to be able to, you know, give impact, redevelop, revitalize the communities, but not really look for the camera. And he was like, you creating your own glass ceiling. And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, he's like, "First of all, people need to know who you are so they can be inspired. And secondly, because you're doing what you're doing and you're a great operator, you have a proven track record, people will look for you to invest in you." And I was like, he's like, "People who don't want to lead should be the leaders." And that sat with me. And at that point, I think, yeah, then I didn't mind. I was like, "Okay." Well, let's have some conversations. I guess I'll do a panel or two. So that's how I just initially just was like, okay, I'll come out and speak. But before then, I was like, I don't want anybody to know who I am. I don't want to deal with all that. So, but that really set with me, and that has brought a lot of opportunity our way. So our relationships with the county, with the city, with different philanthropic organizations, we have not had to go and deliver pitches. They've came to our doorstep looking for us. So it's been great to now have those relationships and not have to always go in and try to convince a person to work with you.
So you've developed over 650 units, created over $150 million in wealth for the Black community, which is
Mhm.
very, very powerful. What drives your mission? How do you stay grounded navigating such a challenging and high stake industry, a crazy industry, as you just shared? You have people run off and steal your equipment. I mean, I'm sorry, your materials. I've heard other horror stories about you working on a building and they snatched all the copper out.
Oh yeah, yes. Oh my goodness. I mean, we have different obstacles been in our neighborhoods, right? Some of those obstacles we put, at nighttime, we put dogs on site, or we have people who sit in our homes, so we have to pay for security.
Mhm.
And so we definitely have those different obstacles. But what keep me motivated is definitely the two metrics that I mentioned, like the net wealth of the Black family. It has to change. If we can get that number to $5,000, that would make us happy.
The
Uh,
net worth?
the net wealth of the Black family.
Wow.
So the net wealth is at $0, not $500. It's at $0. That means we owe more than what we have, right? We're over obligated. Um, and that saddens me. To understand that out of every 10 homes in the Black community, only 3 are owned by a Black family and the rest we're renting. That doesn't make me happy. So how do we change that? How do we build wealth? And then when we think about crime, we think about safety, we think about education, we think about food insecurities. A lot of those things tie directly back to your wealth. Being able to pay for your kids' education, start a business, all of those things. Like majority of families were able to take the equity for them from their homes and pay for their kids' education or start a business. Historically, we've been left out of that. And so that's our guiding light.
How are you working to educate people, individual Chicagoans, Black Chicagoans, that homeownership is a way to create generational wealth? You know, in our neighborhoods, South and West Side, as you just stated, less than half of us, less than a quarter of us own homes. How are you educating or even helping get that message across that is one way to create generational wealth? So many people are still shying away from it and willing to pay the $1,500 in rents, the $2,000 in rents.
The $3,000. And what's even more shocking is that the higher in income, the more titles, the more education, that disparity grows.
Really?
Yeah. It doesn't shrink, it grows. But we look to partner with organizations such as yours, like NHS, that do a lot of home buyer educational programs. We currently have a partnership that we're forging with COCO, Kenwood Oakland Community Organization, where we're partnering with them to help us identify a population of people who have lived in the fourth ward for a few generations that has never owned a home. So we have a development on a 4,300 block of Langley where we're selling condos in the community for less than the market value to people who have historically been left out, who are current renters who cannot afford to actually purchase in the community and they don't want to live with the community. We're also partnering with your organization, NHS, to offer the same population home buyer counseling. So we also partner with It Takes a Village Schools. We actually just had a conversation with them earlier because majority of their staff and parents are not homeowners, they're renters. And so how do we filter our population into home ownership to create wealth and generational wealth to pass down to their kids?
That's awesome. And NHS Chicago, shout out to them. They should be a sponsor of my podcast.
They
I
should.
let Anthony Simpkins know that I am waiting for him to make an appearance on this podcast. And but yeah, he said he will.
That
We use word we a lot. I know many people want to know behind the powerhouse, Bonita, who's behind this powerhouse, who is your partners? It's not just you, right? Because to be as successful as you have to have a strong team. Can you talk about
Yeah.
building that team and helping to navigate, the challenges as you talked about. And even go a little bit deeper into the second part of the question, have you experienced, notice being a woman, like, oh, they respond differently to me than they're responding to maybe my partner or my male counterpart?
Mhm.
Those like three questions in one.
No, that I love them. So the company is 100% women owned and ran.
Congratulations.
Myself being the founder and CEO, we have our office manager, which I love, Marsha Wilson. She's been with our company for 15 years now. And so shout out to her because all the back office, she takes care of that. But our office, we're now 9 members strong. My daughter as well, she sells our portfolio. So she's responsible for identifying property or land for us to acquire and also being able to find the buyers to offload and dispose of the properties too. Um, we have great engineers, great architects, Black owned surveying companies. So LR Pass, we give them a shout out. They're Black owned surveyor. And then we have other partners too, like Cook County Land Bank. We love to partner with Cook County Land Bank. They're very seamless process. The properties are or land, they're not at market. So they're under the market value. So you can easily buy into the property and make money on the end. The city of Chicago is a new relationship, but a fruitful relationship. And then we have partnerships with other developers too. So we currently have the Missing Middle coming up on the west side in the North Lawndale community, which is an initiative by the city of Chicago. Shout out to Commissioner Boatwright.
Yeah.
And so that's for the city, it's called Missing Middle because you're trying to build out the infill lots from this 1 to 6 unit space. And for us, what it means is we can help to repopulate North Lawndale. North Lawndale lost 70% of its population. And so there's a concept called brain drain when the talent of a community, same as Inglewood, same as Roseland, same as majority of Black communities, once we acquire certain wealth, become more educated, we leave the community in search of better amenities. And so this is a welcome back home for us. How do we bring our talent back to our communities to help our community?
You mentioned Woodlawn. That made the headlines. The Buy the Block, Buy Back the Block initiative in West Woodlawn. What made it so impactful for this community?
I think buy back the block is so funny. Like if we go back in history, all the way 50s, 60s, 70s, there's songs called Buy Back the Block. What made it so historical is not only did we set out to do it, 5 Black developers, not only did we only use women and minority trades and professional services, I already gave a shout out to LR Pass, but 100% of our, whether they were developer, professional services, architect, even all the way down to the security, they were either minority or women. So that was very successful. We were able to, I think it was like 300 jobs that we created. But for me, one of the most impactful things is in a neighborhood called Old Block, in this neighborhood called Old Block, right? And sometimes name Old Block the most dangerous community in America, like the #1 most dangerous community. And when we first set out to develop in this neighborhood of Old Block, there was not a comp in sight. There was not a comp over 300,000 for a 3-unit building, which is unreasonable. Our cost to construct was almost 700,000, but we were able to sell out in less than 5 months this development. And the reason why I think it was so impactful because we had a Black surgeon who acquired a property. We had a teacher from the university lab to buy a property. We had a couple docs from University of Chicago. All of these people being Black purchasers, home purchasers. So now we're doing this thing that we want to do. We're bringing back our talent to the community. Um, so I think that was super impactful. And then from there, it spurred so much development after. So right now we bought lots at $6,000. You cannot buy a lot in West Woodlawn for less than $70,000, just the lot, if there's any available. And I mean, every single block you go to, there's a new construction property. And what that did to the community. So we went from #1 on the crime list to number 39. So when we talk about what home ownership drives, down, it drives down crime rate. It like it's so impactful in every area. Um, I think that this will help solve Chicago's problems, to be honest with you.
Let
I
me
mean, because once you're invested, it's a different mindset. It's
oh,
like renting a car. What do you do in a hotel room that you wouldn't do in your own house? What do you do in a rental car? Right. And so when you own your home, you're truly vested in the community and the health of that community. I see you looking up.
I want to talk about the collaboration of About a Block and the other developers, but I want to go back to the point of if I was being playing a devil advocate role,
Mhm.
you mentioned a surgeon, a teacher. Someone may say, well, sure, they were able to buy those homes, Bonita. Of course. So when you talk about generational wealth, you're talking about, so you're mentioning individuals who are making well over six figures who are buying those homes. What about the individuals who are only making 50,000? It's home ownership for me. So how affordable is it for me? We get those, individuals, rightfully so, who may feel so strongly about it, but then what do you say to that when it's like it's not for me?
I mean, I think I love that question because what happened to the homeowner who home was not valued over 300,000? Let's think about that. So what we did was create $500,000 worth of equity for every homeowner in that community. 500,000. Now these homeowners did not make over $50,000. So were they thought about? Did they benefit from it? They benefited directly from this investment because their home value has increased. So now when we talk about equity creation, when we talk about wealth creation, when we talk about things that we can pass down generationally, that is what we look to pass down, that equity position. And so now the homeowner or the grandmother or I remember I was at an event at the Metropolitan Club and it was two ladies. And they both recognized me. And one said exactly what you said. She's like, oh, you're the gentrifier. That's why I can't afford anything else in the Woodline. And
You
the other
call
one,
the gentrifier the
I
third
was like,
rail, the word, the
right,
dirty
a
word?
bad word. But then the other lady, she was like, well, I have to tell you, thank you. She's like, me and my husband, we want to sell our home because we have over $500,000 worth of equity that we did not have access to before. What do I do with the capital? Like, what do I do next? And so to hear that, that's what's inspiring for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, the gentrifier. How did that make you feel when she called you a gentrifier?
Um, I think everyone's never gonna like what you do, right? And so even when I think about, so this is the funny part, right? And so and this is kind of provocative. So if we think about a light tech development, everyone's happy. Like, oh my God, you have homes for 30% AMI, for 60% AMI. But what's the difference between that and the land contract buying when they stole billions of dollars from the Black community? Whenever you're in a rental, you pay for 30 days. If you don't pay, you get evicted. And at the end of that, if you price out of it, you still have to find a new home. You can no longer stay in this community. So why is that more beneficial than me creating wealth and ensuring that the community can benefit? I mean, let's think about it. Are we only concerned about people having housing units? Are we concerned about creating wealth for Black people? Because Black people have $0 of net wealth. Like, let's be clear, $0. That's not okay. We have less than first generation immigrants. First generation immigrants have $6,000 of net wealth. How is it that the Black family has zero? And we're all sitting like, oh my God, this is okay. And we're never talking about creating wealth. In the programs that are created around wealth, you have these restrictions. So the city has some ARO programs for sale that says, okay, you can buy a home. Oh my God, great. There's home ownership opportunities, but you can never rent it out. So if you find a job that's on the East Coast, you can sell it, but guess what? You can only sell it for the amount that you purchased it at. So how is this different than a land contract? How is this different than renting? I gain nothing through the process, but the title to say I'm a homeowner. But there was no equity created. There is nothing that I was able to take away from this and give to my child. There was nothing I was able to take away from this and build a business. There was nothing different than renting, except I incurred extra costs. I incurred the cost of maintaining this home. So actually, I'm not better off. So if we really break it down, I would say that it's probably almost a crime not to think about the wealth of the Black family. And when we're constantly, like, even like if we think about Section 8, if we think about food stamps, and we think about a mother, right? A single mother that has 3 kids and she's currently making, say, $10, $12, $15 an hour. And if I make one extra dollar, I'll be cut off from my Section 8. I'll be cut off from my food stamps. I won't receive CETA for my lights and my gas. So you disincentivizing me to do better for myself. You actually want me to stay trapped in this vicious cycle, not only for myself, but for my kids. Because if it's a difference for me making an extra dollar to try to do better, but then I don't have the security of Section 8, I don't have the security of food stamps, I'll just stay on food stamps. I'll just stay on Section 8 because I know for certain until my kids are grown, I can provide for them. But if I make an extra dollar, I may be late one day because my child is sick. And guess what? I lose my job and now I have to go to a shelter. So when I'm faced with making those decisions about the security of my family, I'd rather do less.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the psychology of it. We're not creating systems for growth. The system, and we're all geared to say, okay, well, what about the 30%? What about 60% AMI? What about creating wealth and giving Black people money? Why is that a bad thing? It's not. That's what's keeping us out of the conversation. That's what's keeping us away from the table, creating our own communities that we don't have any money. We're always asking for a handout. No, we don't need to ask if we create. So if we just created $500,000 for 10 people in this community, that's 5 million, $2.5 million. That $2.5 million collectively can build something if we're thinking collaboratively. But no, we're like, okay, well, what about the person that is making $15 an hour and they can't afford it? But we just said we're building a development in the 4th Ward on this 4,300 block of Langley, where we are thinking about a certain AMI, right? And so we're selling for $390. Banner's going to come in, they're going to give us $100,000. We have ITAB that's going to commit an additional $20,000. So now I go from $390 all the way down to $270. More people can afford it, but that's a different workforce housing program that we're creating. So every development will not be the same. However, what we're doing is giving them instantaneous equity because the market value is $500,000. So what I'm doing is putting $200,000 in every person's pocket when they close. That's a benefit. That's instantaneous wealth. Now, when you think about it, like, is it better for me to give them an apartment to rent? Or is it more beneficial for them and their kids and the generations to follow to create home ownership?
I want to clarify the property on 43rd. Is this the newest one? Is this rentals or this is condos?
They're all for sale. Our company believes in building wealth for Black families.
You said this is a workforce. You said this was tied into workforce.
It would be considered workforce housing.
What explain?
And so workforce housing so you have affordable, right? And so you have when you have 30 to 60 AMI, right? So workforce would be up to 80% AMI.
Okay.
And we also, the city is considering the North Lawndale workforce housing too, which is all the way up to 140% AMI.
Okay. I had to think about it to people who are going to be watching and
Right.
listening. Area median income, meaning if your income, this is a chart that you can pretty much look at any city website. Area median income is your income that you make, and they determine if you can afford a home. And when you say 80%, I'm like, okay, it went up. And some of the issues, as we talk about this really, hot button topic, because in South Shore, they were, some of the activists were fighting for they thought it was affordable housing at 30% and 60%. It's like you have to be realistic and know the game, not the game, this industry. You cannot buy a home 30%. 30%. If I was to guess 30% area median income, that's maybe $20,000 for a single person, one person. So as you talk about, creating affordable home ownership, it has to be realistic because a
Yeah.
lot of individuals miss this and gloss over it that everyone should be a homeowner. It's like, no, everyone who can afford to be a homeowner who are making those wages, and you said workforce, 80% is a sustainable wage,
Mhm.
area median income of 80% to qualify for a mortgage. A lot of individuals that I know in my community who I run into think that home ownership, yeah, they want it, but it's like you have to be able to afford it. So when we talk about home ownership and affordability, it's like for those who can afford it. Now, consulting with NHS Chicago and talking to some you know, residents in the neighborhoods, like, no, you just need a place to live. You're not ready for home ownership right now. You need to make a little bit more money. And that's what I want people to walk away understanding, that when we talk about home ownership as a way to generate wealth, is also you have to be able to afford to buy that house.
And not only just of course, but they have to have home buyer readiness courses as well. So you guys
Education
offer
is
that, yeah,
key.
is education. But
Education
I
will
would
tell
like
you
to talk
about
about
the
Commissioner Christine King from Miami. They've created a home buyer wealth building component. And I had a conversation with them this week because I think it's possibly we can look at that model and do a different iteration here in Chicago. And what they're doing, they're giving $200,000, which is like, oh my God, you can't give that much money to a buyer here. But they're giving $200,000 and then they're layering the money. And the value of the home will go up to 500,000. But they spoke about one particular family that their income, combined income was $50,000, right? 50,000 combined income. But they was able to purchase a house that was originally $500,000 and they layered these programs and they ended up buying it at
80.
80,000.
So all those programs knocked it down, the layering,
Yes,
the grants.
the
Yes.
layering. And so then there's opportunities for different people to be able to afford or have an opportunity for home ownership if they go through home buyer classes. They understand what it means. But the minimum income has to be $50,000.
Yes. Sometimes people don't use those specific numbers. And as we get into deep into it, it's like, thank you for saying the dollar sign of basically to try to get a home. That's roughly, you do have to at least be making $50,000. Even in the city of Chicago, that's quite expensive. So, but yeah, this is a really good conversation that I wanted to really have because individuals get really confused about thinking that it's for everyone. Homeownership should be, it's a right to be own a home, but also you have to have the education, the finances, the resources to be able to qualify and understand knowing what you're doing. But as we move on, we're still on affordable housing because last month, what was it? FHA month, right? What
Yeah,
was
why you
last
gonna
month?
put me on a hot topic of affordable housing for Rashanah? No.
No, we're navigating
I'm just
to
messing with you.
this. You answered it so eloquently because I run into some of the same pushback that you get too about, well, who is the home for? We can't afford
Mhm.
those. And I don't want to use the S word, socialist. Um, you want to be just stuck in having the government take care of you, which you just explained in the last 10 minutes of how, well, if I make a little bit more, then I'm gonna lose my
Yeah.
subsidies or my access to my EBT cards. Like the goal is to get off of that. And if you fall, you will come back up.
But it's a construct, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not, for me, it's not the people's fault,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you tell me, Rashanah, and I have three kids, understand that psychology, right? Like you are single and fabulous and only have but three kids, like 2, 3, and 5 in daycare or in school, and they get sick. And you're working, you're doing Uber, you're trying to figure life out. Maybe, I don't know. Do I make a decision to make more money and sacrifice or compromise the stability of my babies? Right. So it's really for me, it's nothing that they've done wrong. It's the system that's set up wrong. because what it should do is incentivize you. Like, so if you make more money, allow me to give you an extra $100 off. But what we do is punish you for doing better. And so with that punishment, it doesn't motivate people. It scares people. And so the system was built and constructed to demotivate you. It's not the people. The people want to do better. Like, I was talking with Bill Eager over at POA, and when they POA first came into Chicago, they built this amazing light tech deal right over on 63rd and King Drive. And they built all these social services to help and give free things to the community. And what they found out from the community is the community didn't want anything for free. We wanted to make money. We needed income. And I appreciated that so much because sometimes we come in from the top down and we have a perception of what we should give out versus really hearing from the community. So the feedback is like, look, you guys can keep all of these free things. Give me a job. Allow me to have some pride and take care of my family. That's what I want. So just to know that it's not that we're lazy, is that we're put in difficult situations that we don't see an opportunity to get out of, unfortunately.
As you've gone through these hurdles, these battles, being called a gentrifier, having to, fight the fight of telling individuals that homeownership is one way to
Mhm.
generational wealth, what advice would you give someone who's looking to jump into this field, who want to develop, who wants to, buy back the block? What advice would you give someone? Yeah, mission driven, through your mission driven lens.
I would say don't wait for permission. Take up space. You belong in the room, on the construction site, at the closing table. Do it and do it now.
You recently received the $18 million from the city of Chicago's Cut the Red Tape initiatives.
Mhm.
Congratulations. I saw
Thank
that
you.
interview.
Thank you.
What does this award mean for you, and what's next in the next phase of your work? And how do you plan to leverage that investment?
Yes, so I think what this means is funny part is like I love the fact that the city has created this initiative, especially in a community such as North Lawndale that has experienced so much disinvestment. We talked about the brain drain from the community, the 70% decrease in population, and understanding what we did over on 63rd and Evans. And that was like kind of like a pilot, right? But we proved it worked. And so you take a disinvested community, the most dangerous community in America, and you build preferred housing. And you have, and I'll say it again, a surgeon, a doctor, and teachers to come. And so our talent, again, I'm trying to bring the talent back. So why can I not have a surgeon live next to a bus driver, live next to an Uber driver? Because we only learn when we can see. So we're driving for this cross in income, this mixed income community where I can see a neurosurgeon and I can aspire to be a neurosurgeon. So for what it means to me is just we have the opportunity to build back our community the way it should look, right? And so the opportunity to work along other women too, women developers, I was super proud of that. I was super happy to be able to do that. And then I think all of us, that all 5 developers are minorities or from the community. So that was pretty big. The opportunity to create jobs, the opportunity to create wealth, and then also having home ownership at the forefront of the city's attention. I thought that was amazing. I have to give my hat off again to Commissioner Boatwright, because it has long been left out. So they give millions of dollars. So POA just built a development in West Garfield. I think it was $80 million for 45 units of rental housing. And that's the neighborhood right adjacent to North Lawndale. But this program that the city has launched will create homeowners. So it's maybe about 56 homeowners that will come directly to this community. So we're extremely proud. We're proud to be part of the initiative. We're proud to collaborate with the other developers, and we're looking forward to putting our shovels on the ground pretty soon.
Following up to that, what made you go to the West Side? You were a South Side girl. Like, what was the thought process behind going to the West Side, and what is the thought process when you're choosing your next block, your next community?
So it's so funny. My father is actually from North Lawndale. I'm a South Sider. I'm a true South Sider. But then understanding that the South and West Side, they're same community, it's the same people. We suffer from the same issues, and being able to build upon what we've done in Woodlawn is important for me, not only for the South and West Side of Chicago, but nationally. Being able to take the same program national, because there's a lot of communities, Miami, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Memphis, there's a lot of communities that is disinvested. There's no investment in these Black communities. And so being able to understand what we've done, what we've created, um, I'm just, again, happy to be a part of it. So looking forward to the future.
If you could, this is homework on the spot, give a B, C, D, E, F, G, step by
Mhm.
step, a short, dirty step by step. How do you enter this? What will you do entering this field for a first time developer of
Mhm.
how to enter this field, how to get started? Say they don't have maybe, family money. What would it be, a ABC, 1, 2, 3? This is how you get started. This is how you at least make it to the end and start to get the attention of the city or some of these other CDFIs.
Number one, I think do nothing that I did the first time around. But I think there's a few organizations that I'll name because they love to work with first time developers. Number one, which we've already mentioned, which is Cook County Land Bank. They love to give novice investors an opportunity. Um, and so you're able to buy land or a property under market value. You won't find it anywhere else any cheaper, and they don't have any red tape. Right. And so if you're buying property from the city or land from the city, it will trigger certain things like prevailing wage or ARO. So sometimes you have to be careful with buying it directly from the city versus the land bank. So I would say, as a first timer, I will go with the land bank. Secondly, who's your finance partner? And so there is a program that is administered by CCLF. And again, for first time developers. So they want to work with people this is probably your first project. And it's called Chicago Rebuild, which they have a fund from City of Chicago that protects them against any losses. And so you can be certified, and it's a line of credit, it's like 100% loan. So you won't find that anywhere. Normally you need some equity, you need some operational capital, you need to be able to mobilize your job site. And so with the Chicago Rebuild, they will also give you mobilization. So you have everything that you would potentially need from CCLBA and CCLF. From there, you definitely have to create a team. So you don't want to come in and say you're the developer and the general contractor. You want to have a general contractor that's been vetted, that you know that you can walk through his current job site. So if you meet a general contractor and he don't have any current job sites, it's probably not the general contractor you want to work with, to be quite honest with you. And then just understand, be able to look through his paperwork, make sure that he's familiar with the city, the Department of Buildings, the inspections. Those are probably your three main players. Then, of course, you need a realtor. Shout out to my daughter, Kenya Hunter. You may want to reach out to her to become your realtor. You need an attorney as well, but that's basically your team there.
That's a great step by step, quick, dirty. You need to write that down, do a PDF, put it on your website. I'm always monetizing things and how you get freebies away. So that was actually a good one. To add to that, would you maybe add a E or G, anything about community support that you would need to get in being a developer or
Oh,
going into the
yes.
space?
Make sure you attend the town hall. You become acquainted with the alder person. Do some engagement. Once you do contract and you have your property, please go talk to the neighbors. Give them your personal cell phone number, not your assistant. Not You want them to call you first. If not, they will call 311. So make sure you do that. I think that's super important, community engagement. Probably even before you purchase, you want to understand what the community is looking for, because sometimes you'll go into a community and you'll build something and then they're not happy. And so when you're looking to build your next project and you're happy, you feel great about your project, but the community didn't like it. And so it'd be very difficult to get another project in that same community. So you want to make sure that you understand what the community is looking for.
What keeps you inspired?
Knowing that I have work to do, knowing that I have impact to create, knowing that again, that same I'm gonna keep going back to it. What's the net wealth of the Black family, Rashawn? $0. I don't understand how to sleep at night knowing that. Like that hurts my soul.
What's your message to the next generation of women developers and change makers such as yourself?
I have to say this, like, don't wait for permission. Like, I think women, we second guess ourselves. We have to do better, be smarter, be stronger. You don't need to know all the things. Just do it. Jump in the water and you'll figure out how to swim. The other thing is that when you surround yourself and you're doing what you need to do, the people that's supposed to surround you, they'll naturally come. They'll naturally come your way. Know that you are whole, perfect, and complete, and you lack nothing. That's so important. So make sure you stay empowered. You know who you are, you know your power, and look for people who align with your core values. That's probably the most important. And probably more important than that, take care of yourself. Self-care is so important. Work out, run like Rashanah. I'm trying to join her run group right now. So
I need you out there. I
because you
need
can
I
get
come.
lost in the work, right? You can give so much away and forget to fill yourself up. So that's super important.
How can people stay in contact with you? Are you mentoring individuals? Do you have a bunch of mentees? Are you sharing this knowledge? If people wanted to find out more information or just talk to you, are you open to that, Bonita?
So I have a very active Instagram account. So it's my name, Bonita Harrison underscore. I am part of this organization called WIP, Women Housing Income Providers. We're open to men and women, boys and girls, whomever would want to come. However, they do have educational classes, and I speak a lot for the organization. So I would say reach out to WIP and join. And they're very active. And the great thing is that they're women. So women are naturally nurturing, we're naturally welcoming, and we're going to naturally help. So
When you're not doing all this great work and building the world, what are you doing for fun?
hanging with my friends. I love to be with my friends. I love to be with my family. I like to be around people I love and just bond. I think community is important. Making sure you nurture those relationships is so important, and take care of people. So like my father, I invest a lot in him. I lost my mom in 2020 due to COVID, and they have been together since 17 and 19. So I make an effort to make sure I take him on a trip every single year somewhere like Jamaica or Atlanta, wherever. So I want to take him to Egypt next year. Definitely want to do that because he's never been to the motherland. So I definitely want to do that. But just consistently nurturing the relationships, the people who poured into you. That's what I like to do.
It's been a very fruitful conversation. I hope to have you back
I
because we
love
can talk
it.
about how you did a great job on the West Side. You went from the South Side to the West Side.
I love it. And thank you. And you've done amazing work in Inglewood. Next time, hopefully I get to hear you on your podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know how much that you are a news anchor and a journalist and all the things that
It
you've
should
done.
just it should just make me a news anchor. I have yet to
You
achieve.
were on like MB all these news shows, right? Like ABC, NBC. You
I
maybe
was
guest
always,
appearance.
yes, doing the appearances, so I
Okay.
never made it.
So maybe I
Well,
don't know
okay,
what an anchor is. So let me take that. I don't know.
rewind, right. So, no, you're right in some aspect. I think of the traditional sense of like, I'm not the Robin Roberts yet. So I had sat in a chair. I did host on WVON for years. I worked at the different TV stations. I never got on any of the mainstream channels hosting or anchoring, but I did do some stuff on cable access network hosting and that anchoring. So you're right. I did do, but it wasn't on any mainstream channels. It was on some of our cable access stations while I was actually
And
anchoring.
good in Inglewood. I mean, that was pretty dope.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it
yeah.
garnered a lot of attention.
It did. It did. A lot of national, international. It did. It did. And that's why this platform is relevant today because my
I,
late
I,
great mentor, Harold Lee Rush, was like, during COVID, this is where Someone You Need to Know started. It was like, how do you transition from just, doing Inglewood, but now taking it a step further and interviewing, a lot of people, the tastemakers, the change agents, the everyday neighborhood heroes who are making an impact in their own respectable field.
Mhm.
So that's how this platform was started. My mentor, who gave me a shot at Kennedy King, gave me like 10 minutes on his airwaves to do good in Inglewood. So yeah.
I love that. I'm excited. So I'm looking forward to seeing everything that you're up to.
Yes, yes. Thanks for tuning in to Someone You Need to Know. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow the podcast on all major platforms and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rashanah B, for more inspiring stories. Until next time, keep shining, keep building, and keep making the world a better place, one story at a time.